Hi, it's Margaret and David, coming to you from a mountainside homestead in West Virginia. Today, while it was snowing, we girdled some trees. This is not a how-to video. Now, in the process of showing you what it was like to girdle trees for the first time, I'll tell you my thoughts on men's tools, I'll share a bit about my personal carbon footprint, and inevitably I'll talk about gender roles on the homestead. Also, I'll share a funny story with you about something that happened while David was away recently. That story ends okay, but there was a lesson learned. And if you're not at all interested in girdling trees, because who cares, this video is for you if you like puppies or want to see what it's like to live on a mountainside. You might be wondering why the front of our house looks green. It's not always that color. That's a home building product called Zip Systems. To learn more about our homestead renovation in progress, click on the link here or in the description below. And now, about our first time girdling trees. We did it as a slow way to garner firewood. We also did it as a means to manage the tree population and give some more light and space for other trees and saplings like maples and oaks. We kept the job simple and only used the pruning saw and an axe. Oh, my bad. It's technically a hatchet. These are small trees. My idea is that we'd give it a go with the smaller trees, 6, 8, 10-inch diameter, and see how it goes. We're taking these trees because we want to encourage other trees and undergrowth. It's a good size for firewood that often doesn't need to be split. I'm pretty sure the job that we did wasn't great. I mean, we're not pros here, and this was our first time. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. Here I am with the smaller hatchet. It seemed frankly less sharp, but more importantly, it lacked the weight of the other one and made the job slower and harder to accomplish. At one point, David said it looked like I was carving an artwork. Very funny, David, but I do often see my efforts as performance art and sculptures. It's not just earthworks and erosion control. Mechanics are one thing, depth and aesthetics build upon that. If I don't think about it that way, I get depressed. Like, oh my God, what have I done? Who am I? Well, anyway, I found that the larger hatchet cut through easier, making almost paper-thin slices. The Forest Service did a test of girdling tools at some point. I found it online. And they did say that the larger, heavier hatchet is a better choice. They also reviewed girdling tool thingies, which work better and faster and stuff. What I have to say about that is, come on, let's keep things simple. Here's a tool for every job, I get it. Don't get me started on men and their umpteen tools. I'm not a fan of single-use tools. It's one more thing to clean, store, find, and fix. I was just saying the same thing to my sister yesterday about so-called yogurt makers. A pot and a warm area is also a yogurt maker. No need for a special thing with special single-serving yogurt containers that you have to plug in. All right, well, David's the axe wielder around here, and I'm no expert at chopping. I'll use the hatchet to make kindling, but I'm not out there swinging around a splitting maul, I'll tell you. I really don't like swinging heavy things. I do enough back-breaking work around here, and frankly, I'm not exactly the strongest person. We live on 40 acres. We rarely take living trees. There's plenty of standing dead and firewood on the ground. We also have the occasional tree that was just ready to come down. But we have plenty of tulip poplars, which grow fast and are almost everywhere. They basically choke out other trees. Anyway, so in the attempt to encourage a diversity of strong and healthy trees, we've decided to girdle a small selection of smaller poplars. They're a cool tree. They have these really beautiful, big yellow, orange-colored flowers way high up there, and the honeybees love the pollen. Strictly speaking about firewood, poplar makes a pretty good firewood, but it doesn't burn as hot, though, as other hardwoods. An important note here is that it's not as heavy to carry and throw, and it's not as hard a wood to cut. I like the poplar. Well, we burn a mix of woods, but I like poplar especially if I'm carrying long lengths of it for some distance through the woods. I must say, I really don't like cleaning. I prefer to make less work for myself. This includes messes outdoors. Cutting down a green tree makes a lot of debris, leaves and branches everywhere. It makes a lot of work in the cleanup. The girdle trees will die and later become firewood to heat the home. So we're not in a hurry to cut green wood and just to stack it for however long it needs before it can be burned. And the standing dead, well, they're not on the ground rotting. So theoretically, when we're ready, we'll cut them down and get the firewood into the shed. of hard to feel how... A note about standing dead trees. Hey, I'm a lady with a chainsaw, but mostly I'm a lady with hand tools. I use the chainsaw because I figure it helps me do my part in getting firewood into the woodshed. I have a whole rant and thought process related to gender-based roles on a homestead, and it's been years in the making. Here in the video, you can see that I'm actually having trouble making straight lines that go in circles around this tree. Anyway, the other day, I'm cutting a wedge in a small standing dead poplar, but I'm like, hey, what's going on here with my chainsaw? So I'm still learning how to troubleshoot the chainsaw, but I'm like, WTF, something's not right. Better get more fuel and chain oil. Maybe tighten the chain, look at the thing. Tired of searching on the internet. Hey Google, if the blade's not dull, if the chain's not dull, Marg, then that's the problem. Why isn't my chainsaw cutting great? Maybe it's not cutting straight. Anyway, that's my thought process here, right? So me and Josie the dog, we're over by the side-by-side, nowhere near the tree, and definitely not downhill of it. A breeze, well, okay, actually a strong gust came in and blew my tree down. It blew the tree uphill through other trees. Man, I was all set to get this thing to come down exactly where I wanted it. Here was Mother Nature finishing the job for me. All right, no lectures needed. This tree was nowhere near the power line or our house. My point in telling you this is that I'm keenly aware that things happen with trees. We, especially David, I like to think of him as our chief arborist, so to speak. We are not crazy about dying or dead trees while they're vertical. They are unpredictable. We've seen them come down, and I'll tell you, a tree that falls in the forest does make a sound, a very, very big sound. There are a number of big trees around here that we've got our eye on, and hopefully, if and when they come down on their own, we don't have anything under them. In dense woods, it's not that simple. These trees get hung up on other things on their way down, taking stuff down with them, whether Mother Nature brings the tree down or you do it yourself. She will, however, and can blow a tree down uphill. Just learned that lesson. To heat our home and our maple cooker, there are a few ways we harvest firewood. But first, let me say, we conserve wood the best we can. We lived in our teardrop trailer for a year before moving to West Virginia. I think it actually helped us acclimate to living at cooler temps in the house. So if it's just us in the house, we start a fire if it's under 60 degrees. I've never actually seen this house lower than like 53 anyway. For our Airbnb guests, however, we fancy things up and keep the house warmer and make sure we have things toasty in the morning. But we also say very clearly in our profile, this house may not be as warm as you're used to in the winter, and it's definitely warmer than you're used to in the summer. In other words, my theory is put on a sweater. It's better for you. And you make less work for yourself, especially if you're the one cutting all your own firewood. Also, it's just better on the environment, too. In the winter, at home, I will put on fingerless mitts, maybe a hat or a shawl, because I know that every piece of wood we burn has been handled multiple times by David and me. We scout it out, cut it up, he splits it, we stack it. That's time and resources of two fools living on a mountainside who have a lot of other things to be doing. Don't get me wrong. We still make extra work for ourselves, for sure, doing and even redoing stupid things. But, we're doing the best we can, and that's just that. Look, have you ever thought about your carbon footprint? For real. Years ago, I took a permaculture design course while living in Phoenix, and in that course, which I highly recommend to anyone, especially homesteaders, I took a detailed carbon footprint eval, and wow, it was really illuminating. David and I have no children, so our carbon footprint is exponentially smaller than if we had even just one kid. But look, we're not perfect, and we're definitely not zero waste by any means. But luckily, we're partially off-grid. Our only grid connections are about 50% of our electricity is from the grid. Plus, we get certain supplies, fuels, and foods and goods and stuff from, in town and online. About half of our field and brush work is with power tools. The other half is done with hand tools, and plus our sheep and pigs. Now, other ways we get firewood, well, let's see. I've cut a lot of wood from the forest floor, from trees cut years and years ago from when the property was last logged. The size of wood that's comfortable and easy for me to cut and carry is not a size that is of value to loggers. And a lot of it's also not completely touching the ground. So that means we have a lot of pretty decent hardwood laying around in the woods. We've also had a few real big trees come down on their own. So either those became slabs or firewood. You know, David doesn't have a lumber mill, but he does occasionally use the thing on the chainsaw to slab up wood. We have cut a few living trees because we needed the space. And, you know, man, what a mess it is to cut a tree with a full canopy all leafed out. Those branches got chipped, but I will at all costs avoid cutting down trees that are in full canopy. Now that I'm thinking about this, we have taken a couple of unhealthy trees because we were really getting worried about what they might take down in the process of falling.
Josie, not here.
We heat our home in two ways. Passive solar, that's big south-facing windows, and a wood-burning stove. You know, this house was built over a period of decades, starting in 1979-ish. The chimney was built so a stove could be put on every floor. It's really an incredible chimney. There's actually also a fireplace and 2 wood-burning stoves on the first floor. We don't use a lot of firewood. We're really, really fortunate. We only use 1 stove on the first floor. And I sure hope the girdling works for us as a way to glean more firewood from the property. You know, I'm not even really sure how long it's going to take for these girdled trees to be ready for the woodshed, but I figured it was worth a try on some smaller trees out there. Hopefully next time we girdle a tree, it will be faster and will look less like a chop job. If you have thoughts or questions about other ways to harvest firewood, we sure would love to hear from you. So yeah, write your comments below. Also, next time you need something from Amazon, it would super really help us out as new members of the Amazon Associates program if you would click to your item through any product link on our channel. It doesn't cost you anything and it helps us get established. And we really want to share these things with you. We're not experts, so we're not here to teach you as much as to show you what we're doing. But, you know, things like which tools are best for the job. If we could help anybody not reinvent the wheel on figuring out what works on a place like this, and if it's useful for you, that's great. So I like to think that taking some of these poplars down, we're actually encouraging healthy growth of other trees. It makes me feel like we're doing some good for the long-term health of our forests. These forests that predate us and will outlast us. Amazingly, these forests have regenerated many times over the years and years of human inhabitation. You know, humans have really done terrible things to the land, especially here in West Virginia. And Mother Nature provides many good lessons for regular people, any people, living through life's ups and downs. Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and see what we post next. In the meantime, we'll keep our eye out on these trees that we just girdled, especially since some of them are in a future grazing area for our sheep. Thanks for watching.